we will encounter countless challenges, difficulties, and setbacks. Whether it is a bottleneck in the work, a long time of hard work but no results, or interpersonal problems, conflicts with others and do not know how to resolve them, or even sudden changes, so that our lives fall into chaos. In the face of these troubles, many people choose to escape and lie down. However, if you don't face it bravely and solve it, you will find that the more you are afraid and the more you run away, the problems of life will surely come back again and again. How do we be brave enough to face problems? Mao Zedong said that the future is bright, but the road is tortuous. Mao Zedong's life was full of ups and downs, whether he was dismissed, isolated, or questioned. But he never thought of giving up, but silently studied, researched, and waited for opportunity, because he believed that the development of things did not rise in a straight line, but had twists and turns, because we may make mistakes at certain stages and lead to twists and turns. What we have to do is to be prepared for the wave development and the twists. When we change our thinking, we will find that all the problems in life are temporary. Today, we will dismantle several points of view in Mao Zedong's anthology, and learn from Mao Zedong's thinking and methods in the face of adversity. On the essence, the core of all anxiety is that the main contradiction is not grasped. There is a classic line in the movie, The Godfather. People who spend half a second to see through the essence of things, and people who spend their whole lives can't see the essence of things are destined to have completely different fates. When we always look at the problem superficially and fail to grasp the essential problem, the problem will appear again and again. So what exactly is the essence of things? Mao Zedong gave a definition of essence from the perspective of contradiction, which is the main contradiction and the main contradictory aspect of things. As Mao Zedong said in his anthology, things are driven by contradictions, and the process of resolving contradictions is the process of developing things, and understanding and resolving contradictions is the key to coping with all challenges. For example, in the face of the war of resistance against Japan, Mao Zedong used the idea of contradiction theory and wrote the military and political work on protracted war, which grasped the main contradiction. Through Mao Zedong's advanced thinking of protracted warfare, we have ushered in a critical turning point in the war of resistance against Japan, and our lives will also encounter an important turning point. So, how should we make decisions during the transition period? First of all, we must understand that the confusion, anxiety, and pain we experience are themselves a manifestation of contradictions, and accepting the existence of contradictions and believing that there is a solution to all difficulties is the first step to overcoming anxiety. Secondly, the particularity of the contradiction is analyzed. Specific problems are analyzed on a case-by-case basis. Delve into the unique causes of the confusion, anxiety, and pain we face. If the anxiety is caused by work stress, it is necessary to analyze the specific situations such as excessive work tasks, interpersonal tensions, or career development bottlenecks, and adopt different solutions for different reasons. Finally, among the many contradictions, it is necessary to identify and concentrate efforts on resolving the main contradictions that play a leading role. For example, when we are facing financial pressures, family conflicts, and health problems at the same time, we need to analyze which issue is the most urgent and has the greatest impact on us. If economic pressure is the main contradiction, then focus on solving economic problems and alleviate them by improving vocational skills, increasing income, and rationally planning expenses. Once the main contradiction is resolved, the other contradictions may also be eased. In terms of action, practice is the only criterion for testing truth. Mao Zedong pointed out in his theory of practice that all true knowledge originates from direct experience. Investigation and research may seem time-consuming and laborious, but only by staying in the middle of the matter, getting in touch with the truth, and carrying out investigation and research work in an orderly and rational manner, can it be easier to get closer to the essence of the problem and draw more reliable conclusions. In the words of the instructor, the first step is to start to contact with external things, which belongs to the stage of feeling, and the second step is to organize and transform the materials of comprehensive feeling, which belongs to the stage of conceptual judgment and reasoning. We have to come up with not only the task, but also the way to accomplish it. Our task is to cross the river, but we cannot cross it without a bridge or a boat. If you don't solve the problem of the bridge or the boat, crossing the river is just an empty word, and if you don't solve the method and problem, the task is just nonsense. Mao Zedong repeatedly emphasized the importance of practice in Mao Zedong's selected works, believing that only through practice can the correctness of truth be tested. This is not only a test of theory, but also an exercise of personal ability. Therefore, in practice, we can discover our shortcomings as well as our strengths. Don't be afraid of failure. Dare to try, dare to practice. Only practice can solve one problem after another. Most people always want to improve their awareness before acting, but they fall into theoretical preparation and delay in acting, and eventually ruin their lives. In fact, for ordinary people, the action is half the battle, because there will never be a time when one's cognition is completely ready. What you think is high cognition is a floating cloud before it is put into action and tested in practice. If it's not a matter of life and death, let's do it first. We've lived for decades, and most of us know the basics of what it takes to live this life well. However, our biggest obstacle is procrastination and hesitation, difficulty in taking the critical first step, and without action, knowledge and action cannot interact. In this way, not only can it not solve the problem, change life, but it is also difficult to truly improve cognition. Therefore, don't worry about how to improve cognition. Just rush to do things well, solve problems clearly, and become enlightened by doing. On the method, firmly believe that there is a solution to all difficulties. When we not only grasp the main contradiction but also begin to solve the problem in practice, we will also encounter a problem. Can your psychological energy, that is, your mental strength, support you to go to the end? In this process, there will be all kinds of difficulties and setbacks, and the test is the mental strength of the leader and the centripetal force of the team. In the early days of the Red Army, such a problem was also encountered, when some members of the party and the army were disobedient and unruly, and the old warlord atmosphere of officers and soldiers beating and scolding soldiers had not been eradicated, and the whole organization was in a state of ideological confusion and very looseness. Pessimism prevailed in the Red Army, who did not know where to go and the future of the revolution. Mao Zedong realized that in order to boost the confidence and morale of the Red Army, the Gutian Conference alone was far from enough, and that the results of the Gutian Conference should be further consolidated and strengthened so that the Red Army could not be afraid of a strong enemy, gain a firm foothold, see hope, and break through the encirclement. Understanding and resolving contradictions is the key to coping with all challenges. Mao Zedong realized that in order to boost the confidence and morale of the Red Army, the Gutian Conference alone was far from enough. Otherwise, the combat effectiveness of the team surrounded by pessimism will inevitably be greatly reduced. At that time, Mao Zedong decided to seriously reply to every member of the Red Fourth Army in the form of letters. Mao Zedong wrote more than 7,000 words in this letter, and the full text can be divided into three parts. First, a brief analysis of the situation at that time, pointing out the characteristics of the Chinese Revolution and the rationality and necessity of the existence of the Chinese revolutionary forces. Secondly, it further analyzes the current situation at that time, especially the political situation in China, and reveals the underlying reasons for the rapid arrival of the revolutionary upsurge from the perspectives of the subjective forces, objective conditions, and counter-revolutionary forces of the revolution. Finally, based on the above analysis, the countermeasures under the predicament are given. With regard to countermeasures, there are three main aspects, that is, to avoid blind activism, not to commit the acute disease of revolution, to avoid blind pessimism, to fall into the guidance of capitulationism and begging for and to adopt corresponding good countermeasures in the light of the lessons summed up in practice, such as adopting guerrilla tactics of the enemy advancing and retreating, the enemy retreating and disturbing, the enemy being tired and fighting us, and the enemy retreating and pursuing us, and promoting the development of the Red Army in the base areas and waves through the establishment of base areas. In general, the logic of the letter is the process of discovering problems, analyzing problems, and solving problems. After careful and meticulous analysis, at the end of this letter, Mao Zedong did not forget to write poetically. A spark can start a prairie fire. For this poetic sublimation, if further simplified, it is no exaggeration to say that this letter is like a shot in the arm when exhausted on the road of revolution, a light in the darkness, and a compass on the vast sea that will always move forward. For ordinary people, how should they think in the face of difficulties and setbacks? Mao Zedong wrote more than 7,000 words in this letter, and the full text can be divided into. With regard to countermeasures, there are three main aspects, that is, to avoid blind activism, not to commit the acute disease of revolution, to avoid blind pessimism, to fall into the guidance of capitulationism and begging for. First of all, don't be negative, and improve your self-efficacy by overcoming small difficulties. Secondly, do not let go of opportunities. The greatness of great people lies in the ability to seize the opportunity bravely and wittily at critical moments to change the situation and even history. If you just wait, you won't be able to hit yourself even if you have a pot. The conditions are self-created, and the forms are Finally, do not waver in your beliefs. What people are most afraid of is doubting themselves and not believing in themselves when they encounter setbacks and difficulties. But we must understand that everything cannot be done in patience, and it takes great perseverance and patience to achieve the final victory. This waiting process is painful, and the turning point is often in the final insistence. Finally, to sum up, cognition allows us to gain insight into the essence of things, grasp the main contradictions, and thus find the key to solving the problem. When we encounter confusion, we must learn to use the idea of contradiction. Do not panic, do not deny yourself, analyze specific problems in detail, find out the main contradictions, and make every effort to solve them, so that other contradictions can be alleviated. Action is the key to achieving goals, and without research there is no voice. We must have a deep understanding of things, test the truth through practice, do not fall into theoretical preparation and delay in taking action, and take the first step bravely. Mental strength is the source of strength that sustains us to the end. In the process of pursuing our goals, we will encounter various difficulties and setbacks, and we must firmly believe that there is a solution to all difficulties. Finally, as long as we continue to do a good job in these 3 points, I believe that after the tortuous road, we will usher in the light.